Yeah, we're not doctors or giving any medical advice. This show is intended for educational purposes only, and you should talk to your doctor about any medical issues. Now, let's get at it.
Welcome to Chat the Fat, where nutrition authors Nissa Gron and TC Hale are going to break down common low-carb mistakes. Let's chat all things low-carb, keto, digestion, and more so you can maximize your results.
I am here with Crystal Sikes. Maybe it's Crystal Love. Maybe it's Crystal Love Sikes. We don't even know. Do you know what you're going by yet?
I have no idea what I'm going by yet. I think it's a little bit of both, but technically my name has not changed yet.
Okay, no forms have been mailed.
Exactly. So we're going on a trip here in about a week, and after that trip, I can finally change my name.
Okay, good. Okay, so for those of you who may not know, Crystal Love has been in the keto community for a while. She does a lot of coaching. She does speaking and stuff like that. And she's a great teacher. But she just got married to Robert Sikes, who you remember listening to on Chat the Fat episode 29. He was a king of all bodybuilders using keto. I'm sure you remember that episode. So Crystal went ahead and she was so impressed with his keto bodybuilding that she went ahead and married the guy.
That's exactly how it went.
Right. So she's Crystal Sikes now, but a lot of people still know her as Crystal Love. Maybe we'll just call her Lovey Sikes. We'll make up names and we'll just throw them around.
That's perfect. I love it.
Okay, great. So we actually met Crystal on the low carb cruise this year, and we had a lot of fun hanging out with you and Robert and Danny Vega and Jessica Ty and her husband Derek, all these people that we had such a great time with. Was that the first time that you had been on that cruise?
That was the second time I had been on the cruise.
I was the rookie.
Yeah.
You knew what was up.
Yeah. It was a little bigger of a ship, and there was a lot more people this go around, a lot more people that we knew. The first time we went, it was like, I don't know, we just were new to everything. So
there was like 7 people out in lounge chairs by the pool, doing their talks.
Yeah. But this last trip was much better, and I'm actually really looking forward to this next year coming up.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna come back too. I already told Jimmy I'd come back and hang out because we just had such a great time. And it's always fun when you get to hang out with people of like mind, and you get to talk about all the things where you get to talk about the things and the people don't just look at you like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
So that's fun. But then there was like a cruise on top of it, and I haven't done a whole lot of those. So
exactly. Usually the conferences are a little bit nuts for us because we just have a booth or we're busy meeting people and all of that. So the cruises are actually a little bit more relaxed for us and just a really good opportunity to network with other people in the space. We love it.
Yeah. And let's jump ahead for 1 second, because most conferences you guys go to, you're not just teaching things, you actually do stuff. You actually make things and people are like, oh, that's awesome. Why didn't somebody else think of that? I want to buy that right now. So tell us a little bit about like the keto brick stuff that you guys do. Mm-hmm. And I think you guys have like a clothing line and a doggy daycare. I'm not sure all the stuff you guys got going on, but it's a lot.
Yeah, we do have a lot going on. We have the keto bricks, which is what we started first. Which I don't know if you and Robert talked about it on his episode, but we had started the bricks mostly because it was a really great option for Robert to have on during his bodybuilding competitions. Right. Very dense, high fat option, kind of like a fat bomb, but shelf stable, so you could take it with you. So we started doing that, and it's like went crazy. It went nuts. The first launch we did, I think we sold out in a matter of minutes. And wow. Since then it's just been a big boom, and we love all the support and everything that we get. And when we go to the conferences, it's pretty insane to get all the feedback that we do. And then we started the clothing line, which we haven't really done a whole lot with it, but hopefully gonna make that boom as well soon in the near future.
And what is it about the clothing line? Tell us a little bit about it. Like what was it geared towards?
So mostly it's geared towards athletes. We do have some regular, plain t-shirts, but Robert and I are both very into what you can wear on a regular basis, but also be comfortable, look decent, all of that. So I wear a lot of leggings. So we have women's leggings, we have tank tops, we have t-shirts, some shorts and hoodies, but we also want to make that into what you could wear on a regular basis. Right now is a little bit of gym wear. But we definitely want to expand that going forward in different options. So right now, lots of that kind of stuff going
Right.
on. And then we've only done one round of clothing, so we're hoping to get another round here soon again.
Right. And the keto bricks, it's basically like a fat bomb, but it's like the size of a Miata.
Yeah,
It's kind of what
it's
it.
it's 1,000 calorie meal replacement bar with high fat, moderate protein, and very low carb. And so we have a bunch of different flavors right now. We have our 4 regular flavors that are there year round. And then we do randomly like some seasonal ones or just different awesome flavors like the peanut butter one we just launched.
Just like the McDonald's does a Shamrock Shake. So you're just
Yeah.
doing just the same kind of stuff as McDonald's,
Exactly.
really, is what's going
Yeah.
on. Okay, that's cool. So we'll tell people where they can find that kind of stuff when we talk about some other things. But let's talk a little bit about you. We have already talked about Robert when we talked about Robert. Everybody knows he's awesome. So we need to get
Hmm.
into a little bit of the Crystal awesomeness. Um, but from what I remember you talking about, it wasn't always Crystal awesomeness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
there was
right.
some less than awesome when you started out. So I kind of want to talk about a little bit, especially about your digestive issues. Everybody knows I'm the captain of poop, and it's all I talk about is digestion. Um, but I know that you really dealt with a lot of like, body dysmorphia and eating disorder kind of things. So I want to talk a little bit about that because I get a lot of people coming to us with issues like that from our Kick It Naturally podcast because we talk about stuff like that a lot. So kind of get into how that started for you.
The body dysmorphia, eating disorder type thing.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think I honestly dealt with it a little bit when I was younger, just as going through middle school, high school, having the comparison game going on. So I had a little bit of that, more of the like anorexia side of things. And I wouldn't have really categorized myself in that before, but now looking back, I definitely had some of that going on with a little bit of binging on the side.
well, it wasn't very
Um,
long ago that we didn't categorize ourselves as anything. It was just like
yeah.
you're either healthy or you're like, that guy's a little bit off. But now
Yeah.
you got a name for everything. Like if your
Yes.
nose is bent, it's like, oh, bento nosoladal. They want to diagnose everything. So these things weren't labeled very long ago. So when people were
Hmm.
dealing with them, they're just like, I just got some issues.
Yeah, exactly. I think that I didn't really deal with a lot of it until actually after my most recent competition, which tends to happen with competitors, but that was definitely a big trigger for me. Dieting for so long and then being able to eat all the food you want again definitely triggered me back into a lot of binging, purging, all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, you want to like restrict and then you binge and then just a
Right.
vicious cycle.
Right, exactly. So before we get into the kind of competition stuff, because we definitely want to talk about that, it's really amazing what you and Robert have both done with competing in bodybuilding competitions using keto and even succeeding. And that's poppycock to a lot of people. And I like to talk about, maybe it's not so much poppycock now, is it? But
Hmm.
before you got to competing and even before you got to keto, you were dealing with a lot of your digestive issues. Can you kind of talk about what that was all about?
Yeah. So I don't really know exactly what brought it on. I had always had weird digestion as a young kid, but nobody ever thought anything of it. It just was, I'd get a bloated belly and that was it. So when I guess I was 21 maybe, I started to deal with a lot of GI distress and just bloated. My stomach, I just would look huge pregnant, probably about 6 months or whatever.
Right,
uh, and I had lived on my own. I was not living the healthy lifestyle. I was drinking a lot. I was smoking all the time. I ate junk. I ate fast food most of the time. I worked as a barista, so I
uh-huh,
drank these sugary coffees all day long and pastries and all the good stuff. So
right,
I finally got myself to a doctor and I just said, something's going on. And he's like, you have chronic fatigue syndrome and you have this and you have IBS. And I was like, there's got to be something more to this because I am in pain. And I'd randomly have bloody noses and things like that just because I was bent over hurting. So they finally sent me to a actual GI doctor, and they had run a bunch of tests and nothing was coming back. She finally said, okay, let's do this last one. And honestly, I can't remember the name of it. Um, anyways, you eat this food and it's eggs, and they put something in the eggs, and you lay there for a few hours or an hour and a half, and they watch to see how fast your food digests. And with that test, my results were very poor. My digestion was terrible. So they gave me a medication and laid me back down and to see if that would work at all. And the medication didn't work on me, which honestly, I'm in the end very grateful the medication didn't work, or I could be in a worse situation.
You may have thought that
So
was the answer, right?
yes, exactly. So anyways, with all that test, it turned out that I had gastroparesis, which is, you might know better than me, but it's pretty much a muscle nerve connection. So my muscles weren't contracting the way that they should in my stomach to digest my food properly and push it through my system. And so they started giving me some medication, told me to get rid of all my fiber. So I was like high sugar, fruit all the time, and white bread and white rice, no whole grains or anything like that. They wanted to keep me on super easily digested foods. So after that, my lower stomach started hurting, and it turns out the same thing is in my intestines. So it was just like my whole digestive tract was just messed up, just super, super slow. And meanwhile, I was dating Robert, and he had just started keto, and he didn't really know at the time that it was keto, but he's like, you got to try this. I think you're actually killing yourself. And if you don't die from this, whatever's going on in your stomach, you're going to die from diabetes.
Right. Yeah.
So I actually tried keto and I hated it. And I was like, this is the worst diet ever. I don't know why people do it. I can't have any of the delicious things that I was having before. And so I quit, and I felt worse when I went back.
Right.
So Robert kind of did some more studying, and I'm so lucky that I had him at the time. So by this point, I had stopped drinking and I had stopped smoking, and I knew I had to do something about my lifestyle.
And was it more than just the discomfort? Were you one of those girls that was like, well, I just pooped about a week ago?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. They would ask me that question. They're like, well, how often do you go to the bathroom? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't, maybe 3 days ago. And they're like, you got something going on here, lady.
Right.
So yeah, and Robert ended up kind of searching into keto a little bit more and finding better high fat options. I think before we just were going after meat, and a lot of it was cheaper meat. And, we'd go to Costco and get a whole bunch of just chicken or whatever. So we ended up putting in a lot more fat in my diet, less vegetables, just playing around with the ratios. And I ended up feeling amazing, feeling really good. And yeah, haven't turned back since.
And so how did you do initially, though, when you first started cutting out all your carbs? Were you freaking out in a basket case, and, how with the cravings out of control? And how long did it take you to get past that?
Yeah, I was a crazy person.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's funny because you would think, oh, well, if this doesn't cause you pain, then why would you want the sugar? Why would you want the pastries and things like that? But when you're in that moment of just craving, you give into it. So I would do that. I would do so well all week or all day. And then I would be sitting there at the coffee shop, and that cookie was staring at me. So of course I had not just the one, but then also like 3 more.
Right.
And it would just kind of spiral me into a lot of sugar, a lot of carbs, big burritos with rice and beans and tortillas. And I definitely could not stop.
And I could just see Robert looking at you like, oh, so you had that today. Well, that was a good idea.
Yeah, there were so many times where I didn't tell him, and I was like, man, I just didn't sleep last night. He's like, why? It's like, no reason, except for I had 12 cookies yesterday. And, of course, all he could do was support me, and,
right.
Just as we do, anybody who has to go back and forth. But it actually took me a year of doing that and finally saying, this makes me feel terrible. Why do I ever do it? I put my foot down And at that point, I chose no more carb meals ever. And it's been, I think it's been like 3.5 years since
Wow.
I've had a carb meal.
That's
So,
fantastic. Right.
yeah.
Well, it's good. I mean, there is a lot of physiology that goes along with cravings, and we talk about this a lot on our show, and we explain to people that it's not your fault. It's not that a person is a carboholic or they have no willpower, whether there's physiology going on there. But at the same time, with the situation that you were in, you're repeatedly being shown, eat this, feel this horrible pain. Eat this, feel this horrible pain. So that's, if everybody had that, it'd be a lot easier to go,
Yeah.
no carbs. But I'm sure that was very helpful in helping you figure out, okay, I'm kind of done with all that.
Yes, absolutely. Luckily, I say I'm lucky that I had that pain. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have stuck to keto because I would have had no reason to.
Right.
So I'm honestly kind of in a way blessed that I had all that going on to where I found this lifestyle.
Yeah, you wouldn't have stuck with the diet, and you probably wouldn't have even stuck with Robert because you would have thought he was a psycho for wanting you to do that.
Probably, yes. That's not doubtful.
uh, all right. So I only say that because I had been in that situation in my life before. Anyway, so um, okay, so now you're finding that, okay, this improves my digestive distress. And then at what point did you say, well, why don't I just do a bodybuilding competition? Was that much later, or was that in the middle of improving all this, or what?
So even before I had all that GI distress, everything, I actually had not been lifting. During that point in my life, I didn't care about what I looked like. I was thin, and that was all I thought mattered.
Right.
So in high school, I did sports, and at this point, I was probably maybe running once a month for about a half a mile. And so when I started going to the doctors, they said, you need to change your lifestyle, quit smoking, all of that. Exercise would be a great idea. So I actually hired a trainer at the time. I had gone to one of Robert's competitions previously. So I said, I want to do a competition. And then once I realized that I had no muscle, I was like, this is probably a bad idea. And I didn't follow through with that. And my trainer, honestly, she wasn't that attentive. So it was better that I just went and did my own thing. So I started training and kind of just doing my own thing. Finally got the courage to go to the gym with Robert. And years later, I think it was 2 years after I had started lifting, and I decided to do my first competition.
Oh, good. That's a
Yeah.
lot of fun. So
Yeah.
what I want to talk a little bit about is, you prepping for the competition, and your, the diet you were using, and, the nutrition that you were using, and, type of workouts you're doing. But, maybe this might even be hard for you to really talk about because it's the only way that you've ever done it. But I think that you talked to other competitors and saw what they were doing. I really want to talk about how drastically different what you were doing is from what most people do now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for my prep, I started at 80% fat, and my carbs were no higher than 10 grams the entire time.
Per day.
So
Wow.
per day, total carbs. And it was, honestly, you felt great because your fat was so high, especially in the beginning. You start your calories higher, then you slowly taper them down each week. My prep was a 22-week prep. And we want to make sure that we take enough time to slowly cut away the calories in order to preserve and to take care of your metabolism, rather than doing giant cuts away of giant cuts of calories. So honestly, I was only going down 50, maybe 75 calories a week. And sometimes my calories would stay the same the next week. So I started at the 80%. We finally found kind of where my protein was at to begin with, and slowly started tapering both protein and fats down, but mostly using the protein as a manipulated variable.
Okay.
Keeping the fat high because that's where your energy is coming from. And during the competition prep, when you're cutting fat, you don't need to be building muscle at the time. So you actually don't need as much protein.
Okay. And, where were you when you decided to start doing this? As far as you had already been working out some, did you still have like no muscle tone according to how you viewed it, or had you started to develop some and you had, like, a bit of a base?
Yeah. So at this point, I had been lifting for about 2 years, and I finally said, I've been doing it long enough. I think I can see some muscle in there, and I think I should just do it. And worst thing that happens is I jump on stage and I do something new. And if I get last place, I get last place, but
Right.
at least it was worth a chance. And so I had talked to a few people that I knew had experience in bodybuilding, including Robert. And I just had to decide for myself. Robert, I actually debated it for a whole month before even bringing it up to Robert, because I didn't want the added pressure of feeling
Right.
like
How
he
about
got
now? You want to start
excited.
now? Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I did have some definition, and if anybody knows me or Robert, we do not take it light when we are in the gym. We definitely go heavy and we try to go hard. We're working, 5, 6, 7 days a week. And he's my training partner, so you can't really go light when your husband is Robert.
Right. Right.
Or
Exactly.
boyfriend at the time, I guess.
Yeah. Because you get
Um,
that. When are you going to start? When does your workout start?
yep, yep.
Yeah.
And we spot each other. I mean, everything we do is together as far as the workouts go. So yeah,
That's a lot of
it's a
fun.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
Um,
Okay. So, um, now the different phases when you're getting ready for a competition, talk a little bit
mhm.
about what changes uh, and maybe a little bit about how other people are usually doing it now.
Yeah. So you have an off season, which is, I would say, the 2 years prior to my competition prep. So a lot of people say it's bulking when you really don't have to gain a bunch of weight. You just need to be eating at a surplus and maintaining a healthy body fat in order to gain muscle. Then when you decide to do your prep, you figure out how many weeks out you want to be from a show, giving yourself plenty of time to slowly taper down the calories, the macros. Um, so I gave myself 22 weeks. I started at a higher body fat percentage than I would have wanted to.
Do you remember
So
what it was?
yes, I was 26%.
Okay.
Yeah, and which seems pretty healthy, but for starting a competition prep, wanting to get to like 12% body fat,
Right.
that's a
Right.
lot.
Right.
So I gave myself the 22 weeks, and then from that point going forward, every single week you're tapering down your calories, your macros, and increasing the cardio and keeping up with your weight training as well. So you kind of get to this point at the very end where you're just hungry all the time and you are pretty much over exercising. My body had a really hard time losing fat. I actually didn't lose any weight for the first 9 weeks of my prep, which is just devastating.
Uh-huh. Right. And which is also a really good message for people who look 3 days after they start and say, I haven't lost 30 pounds yet. What is going on? But for
Yeah.
9 weeks, you had not lost anything.
Yes, exactly. So I was getting a little anxious and nervous and all of that. But as the weeks go on, you keep applying that pressure with the dropping the calories and increasing the cardio very, very slowly. And your body will eventually adjust. And so, you get down there, and then the last month, you're really manipulating your sodium. The wonderful, wonderful thing about keto is you don't have to manipulate your water, which a lot of competitors who are eating carbohydrates, they will keep their carbs high, they'll keep their fat extremely low, and their protein is the highest macro that they have. So they're honestly getting their energy from their protein,
Right.
which is a very hard way to get your energy.
Yeah. You got to turn
Which
that
is
into stuff. Right.
Exactly, which is why on keto we keep our fats really high, and then we actually manipulate our sodium because we do need a little extra sodium, potassium, magnesium, especially when you're training and you're at a deficit. You'll start to cramp up a little bit and everything, but you don't have to manipulate your water, so you actually feel a little bit better than most competitors.
How long before the competition do people start bringing their water down?
Usually it starts about a week or a week and a half out.
Wow.
And yeah, and they'll drink 1 gallon one day, and then they'll drop it to like 3/4 of a gallon, then half a gallon. And then they just slowly, slowly taper in. The show day is terrible. They're literally taking in enough water to make their mouth wet.
Wow. And they're like, look at
Yeah.
that bitch with that jug of water.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying
Well,
to you.
yes. Honestly, I didn't step on stage. My show was a little bit different. Usually you have a morning show and a night show, and mine was a little bit different in the fact that I didn't step on stage until about 4 p.m. But by the time I had stepped on stage, I had drank a liter of water. And all these other people are like, what is she doing? Like, they're thinking I'm crazy. But it was wonderful because I felt great. I mean, I was the person in the back going around, like, helping people with their suits and just excited and happy. I just couldn't stop smiling all day long.
Right.
And nobody else had that type of energy. So I don't
you're
know.
just carrying the other competitors out onto the stage and setting them there.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Do your pose thing. I'll come get you in a minute.
Yeah, that's what it felt like a little bit.
That's great.
Yeah.
And did you reach your goal? Did you come in almost last?
Yes. No. I did end up placing first, which
Well,
is
first is kind of good.
yeah, kind of good, which is awesome. And it's still kind of weird to talk about just because I'm like, well, I just won, you know?
Right.
But yeah, I did place first, and it was actually really cool because they read out a little paper that you write. And during mine, I thanked Robert and I said Keto Savage for, you know, helping me through this prep. He was technically my coach doing my macros for me. And I had so many people saying like, I just looked up your boyfriend, and I just, you know, I looked up keto and I just wanted to know, you know, more about it. And there, to this day, there's still girls that I competed with that follow me, and, you know, we kind of just talk back and forth, and it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Right. So what is that like when not only are you using everything that people think is just insane, and how are you ever going to do that? But then when you win, I mean, how do you not go, well, see, how about that? What you think now? You know, how do you
Yeah.
not do that? How do you explain to people, you know, how it worked or why it worked?
Honestly, it is the craziest feeling because you go up there, especially for myself. I thought, okay, I'm a keto athlete and I have to stand for all keto people. That's what you think kind of going into this. And when I won, I thought, ha, see, I did it, you know? And it's hard because the carb way works. Whether it's good for you, or you feel good, that's not really key, but it works. And people want to keep doing the same old way over and over and over again, that I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to prove it to just some local people to that area, that you can do it a different way. You can do it a better way. I was the one out of all of the girls that had the most energy. I was happy. I was actually able to eat. I mean, they're eating, you know, these super dry, what are those, rice cakes?
Right. Come
And
on.
with like peanut butter on top with hardly any water. And I'm over there downing some fat bombs and some keto brick and drinking my water. But I felt healthy. I didn't feel like I was dying. Of course, your prep is going to be hard because it's hard. Every prep's going to be hard. You're low in calories, you're exercising a lot, you're putting your body through a stressor, and that's why it's a sport. But I definitely feel like I had it a lot better than the other girls.
Right. Exactly. And, you know, what about even just the view of female bodybuilders? Because I think it's a little bit morphed. And, you know, if you're just listening on a podcast, if you're not watching this on YouTube, Crystal does not look like a tank or you know, a alien action figure. And, you know, when we had Robert on the show, or maybe it was when I was on Robert's show, I can't remember, but he was talking a little bit about how you're the only girl that he's ever had a relationship with, and that he didn't, you know that. And I tried to explain to him, well, I need you to understand that your wife is attractive. Maybe you don't know that. Maybe since you've only been with one girl, that's kind of a clueless thing for you. So I did explain that to him to make sure that he did understand what was going on. But if you haven't seen Crystal, she's just a beautiful girl. It doesn't look like what a lot of people view as a bodybuilder. So talk a little bit about, you know, people's view and your reality of what the situation is really like.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. What a compliment.
Well, I thought you meant thank you for straightening your husband out.
That too. But a lot of people think, even when I very first started lifting, my dad said, I guess that's it. If that's what Robert if Robert likes big girls or something like that. And I thought, you do realize you don't have to be a monster, right? It's very, very common that women actually do extracurricular activity. I mean, I guess I'm just going to throw it out there. There's a lot of steroid usage. There's a
Sure.
lot of extra hormone usage. The women that you mostly see on Mr. Olympia and the ones that do have more of a manly shape or figure, a lot of them, I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of them are taking some sort of hormone replacement or steroid or something like that. So there are those few that do that.
And then they
Now,
do, and it's visibly apparent. And I used to deal
right.
with that just working as a personal trainer. Every woman that came
Hmm.
to me is just like, I don't want to look like a blah 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 blah. And I'm like, just
Yes.
calm down. You need to like inject things to make all that happen. So just don't worry about it.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And people really don't realize that because men, their bodies naturally get big and bulky like that. Now, there's a lot of women that are like, I only want to get toned. And I'm like, is there something else we can do? Because I've tried to get bulky and that's not a thing.
Right.
Just women's bodies naturally just get you. It's very hard to build muscle. You have to be consistent in going to the gym and lifting the weights properly, having the mind muscle connection. And there's a lot that goes into it. And it's very hard to get big and bulky. You do just look toned and lean, and you actually, it's amazing how small you get because you lose your body fat. You naturally have a nice layer of fat over your muscle, which actually makes your muscles appear to be a little bit larger.
And
But
that's
when
always higher with females because there's all these
exactly,
reproductive things that need all of this, higher levels of
yeah.
fat. So with women, that's even, there's even more of that.
Yes, exactly. So when you lose that body fat in doing a prep, or say you decided to do a cut for the summer, you get so much smaller than you think that you will, and you'll lose a lot more weight than you think that you will. So it's very, very, very hard to get big and bulky like a lot of the women on stage. But I chose to do a natural competition. I liked the game to be fair, and I'm not choosing to take uh, other supplements.
Substances, yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to compete against other people who were also going to be fair in the same game. So
Right. And I think that that's, you get to be a little more human in that respect, and
yes.
maybe cause a little less trouble down the line,
Hmm.
because I think that can
Yeah.
happen a lot with that. Well, that's pretty awesome. So let's talk now about after you had polished your trophy and you kept looking at it. And so, what about this trophy, Robert? Did you see what I got here? Um, and you pushed aside his 37 trophies, so
Yeah.
we can see her. But after that's done, how does your training and nutrition change when it's not prepping for a competition?
Hmm. So right after a competition, what you should do is reverse diet. So when you're dieting, you're slowly lowering your calories, you're slowly lowering your macros. And at the end of your competition, you want to get that body fat back. It's not realistic to keep a 12% body fat year round. It's not
Right.
healthy. It's just, I lost my cycle. I was starting to lose a little hair.
Right.
That just is, it's bound to happen for a lot of females, even males. So you have to reverse diet back into a regular kind of lifestyle, and you want to do it slowly so that, again, you're not shocking your body, you're not shocking your metabolism, and it's likely that you'll gain less weight if you slowly increase. Same thing goes for anyone who's dieting and using cutting calories or macros as their option. So that's kind of what you should do. I did not do that because I'm stupid.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah. So, and then after that, honestly, I like to increase until the point where I am starting to gain a pound or two, and getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm at a very healthy body fat. Um, these calories are sustainable. I can build muscle on this, but I'm not overweight. I'm not too bulky for my liking, and I can maintain this structure. So it's about the way you look, but it's also about the way you feel, how your hormones are, healing, or whatever else, what other stressors are going on in your life. So right now I'm in an off season and I eat 23, 24, 2,500 calories daily. I train for an hour and a half or so. Sometimes I'll do cardio, sometimes I won't because I don't like it.
Mhm. It's easy to
um,
skip.
yeah. And then you play around with your protein and your fat and your carbs. I generally maintain under 20 grams of total carbs a day just because that's what works best for me. And then my fat and protein I play around with, just seeing what feels best.
And when was the last time that you had a carb fast, and maybe just, and when you did, does it jack your stomach all up again?
You mean just like eating carbs?
Yeah, like, okay, this is a day off and here comes cake. I don't know if have you done that at all? No.
No.
Nice.
So since that one time, I finally decided to put my foot down and say, I'm not going to have carbs. They make me feel terrible. I decided from that point on that I wasn't going to do it. And luckily I'm with someone who doesn't do that anyways.
Right.
So it's very easy. And once you put your foot down to your friends or your family and you make that a choice for your life and your lifestyle, it becomes very easy and people just start to know that about you. So for me, it was just like, I can't have that. I can't have that because I can have it if I choose it, but I'm choosing to not have
And
it.
you know what I
And
love about that is that it makes everything easier, because all of a sudden you don't have to have the battle in your head of, is this a day? Is this an event? It's a special occasion. Should I do it here? And you have to go back and forth and you have to battle. Once you decide, it's just like easy. It's like, oh, I don't even have to ask myself because I know I'm not going to do that.
exactly. And there's always an option to have or make something of your own. If you're at a party and they have cake, you can either bring it or you can say, that really looks good. I'm going to make one of those when I get home.
Right.
Something like that. So I don't have any of those days. A lot of people will also say that you need carbs to build muscle on keto, which clearly with my story, you don't need it. Now, if you choose it for yourself, that is your own body, your own choices and what feels best for you. But I haven't found like a benefit to doing that for myself. I feel pretty wonderful.
Right. Okay. Well, beyond the thing of, as you started keto, oh, I'm going to have 7 cookies at a time, for that first year. Beyond that, what do you think was your biggest mistake that you learned from, either when you were starting the bodybuilding or when you were starting keto?
Oh, my biggest mistake. Well, I don't know that it was a mistake, but it was definitely a learning curve when I was first beginning weight training. I was super insecure because I didn't know anything about anything. So
Right.
I actually got a 24-hour gym membership and I would literally set my alarm clock for 12 o'clock midnight and I would go in the middle of
Oh
the night
no, holy
because
mackerel.
I was so embarrassed or unknowing of what I was doing and I didn't want anyone there to judge me. And if you go in the middle of the night, there's usually only 1 or 2 people working out. So
Right.
I did that and I wish I wouldn't have. I wish I would have just either gone to a trainer or gotten the nerve to ask someone for help or something like that. Because if I'm in the gym and someone comes up to me and asks me for help or to watch them do a lift to make sure their form is proper or anything like that, I would be happy to do that. I'd be way more happy to do that than to watch you do it incorrectly and hurt yourself.
Right.
And I think most lifters are like that. So I wish I would have just gotten the nerve to just go in there and do
Work out
it.
with the
And
humans. Yeah, with the human
yes,
people. But it can be an intimidating place, and people are always afraid that they're going to go and work out and somebody's going to come up and be like, your face doesn't go there. And the
right.
person can be like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? So it's just, it can be a little scary, but that was a
Yeah.
tactic that I have not yet heard. So that was quite
Yes.
advanced.
Yes, I was pretty good at it. And I worked weird hours so that it ended up being fine for me. I worked until 7 p.m. I'd go home, I'd eat, I'd watch TV, and then I'd go to the gym at midnight, which is just nuts. But yeah, I if I could encourage anyone listening, just get the confidence to ask someone. Don't be afraid to ask or for help or I don't know, just
Maybe even a partner, another scared friend that could just go with you or something.
exactly. And luckily Robert ended up convincing me to go to the gym with him and going during the daytime like a normal human. So got over that.
That's an advanced step. Okay. That's a good piece of information. Is there something else that, if there's one thing that you wish you would have known before that, especially about nutrition and all those kind of things, there's something else that you would want people to know if they're just getting started and maybe thinking, maybe I could do the bodybuilding thing.
Wow, that's a good question.
Yeah, it
I
is a
feel
good
like,
question, right?
yeah, gosh, if there's just one thing, I'm kind of all in or nothing. And I think that is a little bit what kind of skewed me and maybe held me up from what I was doing before. Is just going all in. It's okay to go all in. And I was a little bit afraid of just making a decision. But knowing that, gosh, I don't even know. Every person has what feels good for them, and it's not one way is going to work for everyone. So
Right.
knowing you can go in and change things to what works for you and your body, that's kind of, I guess that's what I would say.
Right. Don't be afraid to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to see people just to know that, geez, Crystal, you took 2 years of working out before you decided that you really wanted to do this. So it doesn't have to be start Thursday and okay, I'm competition. I'm going to start prepping for my competition on Tuesday. It doesn't have to be like
Right.
that. You can just work yourself into that kind of stuff. Crystal, this has been awesome. I really appreciate this. Where can people find you and learn more about you?
So Robert and I do the YouTube together. I started making slow transitions right after we got married to doing that on the Keto Savage Sports YouTube. On Instagram, I am the.lady.savage. So it's the Lady Savage. And
Great.
pretty soon we'll have the website for Lady Savage put up. So it'll be ladysavage.com. And that'll be pretty much the place you can get everything you want from me, but it's not quite up. So hopefully beginning of 2020.
Okay, great. And do you do coaching with people?
I do. I'm currently doing it on Deeper State Keto, which is the program that Robert and Keto Connect put together. So I do all my coaching through that. So deeperstateketo.com.
What's it called?
Deeperstateketo.com.
Okay, great. And where can people find the keto bricks?
Ketobrick.com.
Okay, great. You got to check that out. Who doesn't want a snack that's almost also a Miata? That's just good stuff. All right. Well, Crystal, thank you so much for being on, and tell Robert that we said hi, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet.
Whether you're brand new to keto or just looking to move past roadblocks, join us for our next Troubleshooting Keto Master Workshop. Go to chatthefat.com/workshop to find upcoming dates and register for this totally free event. You just might find your missing piece of the puzzle. Until then, we'll see you next week on Chat the Fat.